successful photographer traits you admire most.
Cheers.
You guys have to lead in. You know, you can't just be like, cheers.
Yeah.
Welcome to After Hours at our new studio, Parkwood Studios. We are here talking about photographer traits that you admire most. We are sponsored by PAC, the Photographers Adventure Club. They do all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out on photoadvclub.com. So today we're going to be talking about some photographer traits that we really think that they may help you in your future, of different things that successful photographers may or may not do that you like. So Sprague, we'd like to introduce you. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Excellent.
Happy to have the new studio. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Susie, how are you doing?
Great. Liking the new digs.
yeah.
Awesome. Scott, cheers.
Awesome.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
All right. So we always start with you, Sprague. So are there any, and we don't have to go into names if you don't want to, it could just be traits, but if you want to drop names, we can do that as well. So are there any photographers out there that they're doing something that you either try to emulate or you really like what they're doing and it helps you be a better photographer artist?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that probably one of the best traits is the rapacious pursuit of money, because it's a business where there's, it's really tough to make a dollar. And I think that a lot of it is when you get into this business that you've got to come up with a good marketing strategy and you've got to have a product that you can and will sell. And I think that you have to take a look at, the end game, where you want to be, and what you want to shoot, what you intend to make. And we were talking earlier about probably one of the most successful photographers financially was Peter Lik, because he goes out and he shoots with a medium format camera and he produces just huge prints, and he's got galleries to sell his work, and those things go anywhere from
Strategically placed galleries.
$4,000 to $10,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And if you look at just commercial artists in general, even outside of the photography field, that tends to be how they sell their work best, is to get some notoriety, get a following with a rather wealthy crowd, New York type people, aristocrats that
Have extra
have got
expendable income.
yeah, they've got excess income. Peter Max, I think, is kind of an example of that. In the artist world, that Peter Lik is kind of in that vein. And I think the fact that he comes up with a strategy and he executes it consistently is great. And the other thing is, all he does is shoot.
Peter.
And do the
He
processing.
hires
So,
people to do the other stuff.
yeah, he hires people
Yeah.
to run his galleries, to do his books, to do all the marketing.
Because they
for
do
him.
it better. We're
Yeah,
not always
because-
the best, like we talked about other episodes. We're not always the best at everything. So
Yeah.
if you're not a great accountant, don't try to do that. Pay someone else to do
Right.
it.
Delegate where it makes sense.
Yeah.
And keep making art
Yeah.
that you can sell for $10,000.
And you touched upon something very important, I think, and that is to know your market. So know who you're selling to and what is their price point. You're not going to even appeal to that demographic, the high dollar demographic, if your work isn't presented in a certain way, if it's not a departure from everything else that's out there readily available, and it's got to get in front of them in a place that they're likely to see it.
Get in
So
front of the
just
right eyes, yeah.
just producing it and making it available isn't enough. You have to know where are they going to go and come across your work.
Right.
Exactly. And they have them where? In Vegas, Hawaii, all the big hotels that Peter Lik has his stuff in. Why? Because that's where people with extra money go.
Right.
Well, his sales strategy is really the key to it as well.
Presentation,
it-
the
it- well,
lighting, and
The thing is he's created his sales strategy so that there's a limited number of prints that will be, issued, and every time he hits a benchmark, so many sold, then the price goes up.
Yeah, there's a formula.
So,
Right.
It's just the way that he's marketed, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
it's just a genius way of marketing.
Yeah, when you're selling high dollar work, you have to have editions and edition sizes. If you just have a picture that you're going to sell thousands of copies of, people is interested in it.
Yeah,
And
Thomas Kincaid did the
Yeah.
same thing with his. He had the same kind of format with paintings where he had other people painting his stuff actually, so he could mass produce it, and he got a lot of kind of scorn from that and everything. Like,
Mhm.
oh, well,
Yeah.
you're having other people paint it. He's like, but I'm making money.
Yeah.
You know, he's making money. He's making bank. So he figured out he can only paint an hour. And if I
Mhm.
get 50 people to copy mine,
Mhm.
then, you know, why
He
not?
figured a way around his ceiling.
Yeah.
So his production ceiling was to a certain point.
Well, and the other thing that's great about Peter Lick is that he's not afraid to spend money to get himself into unusual situations. He'll, charter a helicopter and he'll go up to a waterfall and, try to get himself into places where people wouldn't routinely go. And,
Yeah.
he'll set up shoots at night. I mean, he's got that famous shot of the Brooklyn Bridge at night, too, where it's just dead quiet. You can tell they had to take that in the middle of the night because there just weren't any cars there. And
Yeah.
so, I think it takes, a certain discipline to know just exactly what you're going after and be able to choreograph it and get it set
Right.
up and do it.
That's something I really admire most about other photographers. The ones that do their homework about the destination well in advance, and they look up everything about the location for the time that they plan to visit, or they figure out when they will visit. So everything from when other events are taking place, like you don't want to go to Arches during Jeep Week, right?
Or go to Havasu
Right.
during flash flood season.
Right, and
I just literally
and they
looked it
also
up last week. I planned the Arches
Right.
trip for Pack, and I was like, oh wait, when's Jeep Week?
Right,
And I had
you
go
need to
look
make
it
sure.
up to make sure that like it wasn't
Sure.
overrun by just
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of people.
And there are other things too that I think we're probably a little bit more in tune with and think about, right? Celestial events and when there's a full moon versus
looked that
no
up, too.
moon, things like that. And then there's we've talked about going the extra mile. I think that I really admire where a photographer is getting that unusual shot, getting into a different position, getting a vantage point that is not the easy one. It's a different vantage point. It's a different perspective.
Like at
a different
Havasu,
time
we
of
were
day.
in the middle of the river and other stuff where you saw everyone just walk out to where the arrow told them to, and then they stopped there, and we're like down in the river below Mooney Falls,
Right.
in the mist, and
Shooting at water level.
Yeah,
like
all that stuff's
yep.
insured. You can replace it if it breaks.
Drop it.
Drop
little
it.
water,
it
you
gets,
know.
get drowned. You get washed away by a flood.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I like is what Joel always talks about is actually having a body of work and building that work. I was talking to Sylvia across the way in the other studio today, telling her to join 500 Pix because she's got this great series of all those white images out there. And I'm like, you did this whole series and that's great, and it would get a lot of traction in some of these different venues if you put it out there as one big chunk of this is my project. And I think that's something, it's a great trait to have, is to build those bodies of work so that you can show it off together, like my project, the Cowboys, or whatever other
Yeah, it's
projects
a
you guys
collection.
do. It's a collection of all different, and they're all connected somehow, whether it be editing or style or shooting or whatever the connection is. Kind of connect your stuff together. Sure.
I think so.
Ready,
No,
go.
I mean, I like it. I admire photographers who can find, the gusto to continue to soldier on, when things get hard for them, because every photographer at some point is going to be faced with, this fasting and
Feast or famine.
feast or famine. Yeah,
Gotcha.
thank you. The feast or famine, and you're going to get to a point in your career where you start second guessing yourself. There's a lot of photographers that I know who have just quit. They just quit. They lose whatever it is, that essence that got them started in the first place,
True.
and they're out of it, and they moved on. And then
You have to kind of know when to weather it and just keep going.
Yeah,
like, hey,
there's-
this is just a phase. Where most people are just like, oh, that's it, I quit.
and even Joel had said that, he's gone through his times, and the thing is that you stick with it, and you know what you enjoy, and you know what you like, and as long as you've got the right drive and you keep doing it, then and you work the issues out so that you can,
You have to know how to budget your money too. So like when you have, you do event photography, when you do wedding season, don't go and spend it all on new cameras thinking that it's going to last forever, because it's going to drop back
Right.
off. And then if you figure that cycle out, then you can actually play it. I used to do prom and wedding season, and I knew that I was going to make a ton of money during that. But if I had that all spent before it even started, then basically by the end of, wedding season, all you had was bills. So you had to make sure that that lasted the rest of the time so you can continue on and not be like, oh, now everything is gloom and doom.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's a hard thing because, most photographers are entrepreneurs, they're self-employed, and they're the ones that are out there drumming up their own work, doing the work, and it becomes a hard thing. So, I admire those who stay in the game.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, yeah, definitely. If you're going to be in business, you have to stick with it and try to trudge forward. So.
Yeah. Another thing that I think I really admire are the leaps in creativity where people take a little bit of a risk, and do something different, go a little bit of against the grain, and try something new as opposed to just follow the standards, that kind of thing. So, and I think that can take courage, especially if you're in a market that is very loyalty centric, right? And you don't want to stray away from a style too much if you're a wedding photographer or an event photographer and you start to change it up. I think that it takes a little bit of courage there to try new things and to put yourself out there like that. But I think that that's what makes this industry continue to grow and stay exciting and stuff like that. People that are willing to be on that front edge.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to set you apart from your competition. Like we talked about the other night, is you don't really have competition. If you make yourself unique, then you're going to be able to be ahead of everyone. If you're just like, oh, I'm a wedding photographer, and what do you do? Anything different than you or you? And if you're like, oh, we're the same thing, then you don't have that creative edge to be able to charge more or demand more or even differentiate your business or style from the next wedding photographer. So, we're all photographers. Everyone's got to find their little creative point that they can really,
Yeah, like don't be afraid to interject your personality into your work a little bit more rather than just follow things that are in a formulaic way. It does take a degree of self-confidence to kind of let your personality show in some of that, let your sense of humor show, especially if you have a quirky, twisted sense of humor. I looked at Sprague.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, that's some sort of crack?
Kidding.
Well, and that's another thing that I like about certain photographers is that they have a way of making their customers and their clients feel comfortable, because when you go in and you take a picture of somebody, it's a stressful place to be, and everybody's very stiff, and it's a lot to get them to open up and feel comfortable with the environment, and make them feel comfortable so that you're going to get kind of a nice smile and a natural reaction from them. And I think particularly when you're working with models, they're in kind of a strange environment because they're standing there trying to look great, and you're taking a picture and then kind of frowning at it and walking away and mumbling and pointing, and they're looking at you like, what did I do wrong? And it's like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm just working on this. And after a while, you start to demoralize them a little bit. So I think that what you have to do is kind
It's
of
a no-no.
Yeah, just kind of keep them perky and energetic, and just kind of keep the one-liners coming and keep them laughing and keep going.
Was it Becker that was saying that about when he would take pictures, he'd be like, "Oh, that's awesome." And he'd show like the bridesmaid. He could be like, it could be the worst picture ever, but then she's all excited, like, "Oh yeah," and the bridesmaid's not gonna be like, "Oh, that stinks." She doesn't know. You're just showing her a quick picture that's 3 inches, but it keeps that. It could be just any picture. It doesn't have to be anything.
Keeps the energy up.
Keeps the energy going. Oh, he really likes it, And Peter Hurley does the same thing, where I had the pleasure of him shooting me out at WPPI, and he's like, never say smile. He's like, you never say smile, folks. Don't say smile. And so he's like, he's sitting there, you can make people smile from doing anything. So he's taking my picture, and he starts like putting his leg around his tripod and like trying to like climb up it like a little monkey. And I'm looking at him going, and I'm like cracking up looking at it, but I was smiling, but I didn't realize it. I was like, what the heck is he doing? And all he was trying to do was make me smile. And I was like cracking up going like, you okay?
So you had a natural
right
smile,
Is everything okay there? And like, he has you all posed first. So he's like, chin up, this, that, and you're uncomfortable. And then he starts doing this weird thing, and he's like, see? So I can get people to smile doing anything. Squinch and shebang or shebang. Or what does he say?
Shebang.
Shebang!
Shebang. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
Not that you're watching this, but if you do watch this, bang.
Yeah.
So you do other things to say instead of saying cheese or smile. So those are little traits, but that's in the personality. He's got that personality that will bring that out in other people. Where if you're just like, hey, smile.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's that personality that gets people to hire you too in the first place. Because when there's a certain level when you get to that, all of your work is of a high quality. It's all it's all comparable.
You have it dialed in.
Yeah. The only thing that really is this differentiating factor that makes a person hire you over the other guy is you.
They like you more than the other
Yeah,
person.
exactly. And so you're
the bride is like, I like him. He's much better. He was
exactly.
really nice, and the other guy was kind of rude. And that's how they think. That's how people buy emotionally. And when I teach my business classes, I need to teach more of that. But they don't buy like when I was a DJ, they don't buy my DJ lights. They buy the emotion. Oh, it's gonna be a club in there. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be club, Marcy and Rich, and we're gonna play the lights, and everyone's gonna dance. And we're like, yay, Marcy! So you have to really kind of think that they buy emotionally all the time.
We're gonna have to show a picture of Marcy.
Yeah, that's right. Watch her twisting around and all that sort of stuff.
Cool. Well, I think there's some good ideas in there people can work with and try out. So once again, check out PAC. It's photoadbclub.com, and they're sponsoring this event, and we'll have many more episodes to come. So check us out, and see you at the next episode.
Cheers.
Cheers.